we can excel with a long, slow preparation, and with stayers and with the jumpers, we find it easy to train them, well, as easy as it can be. I train mostly jumpers in partnership with Corrina McDougal. I started off as kids. I was one of 5 children, 4 of us boys, and we were all probably pretty competitive. We rode ponies and show jumped and hunted. Started playing polo, and I played polo for 20 years. And in that time I was married, and we found that we were probably going a bit in different directions. Carol show jumped and I played polo, so we decided that we'd try having a racehorse, and it went from there.
As a kid I was a bit pony mad, I guess. Mum and Dad actually bought 10 acres and me and my brother rode ponies. We did pony club, went hunting, bit of show jumping. I worked for Murray Thompson, the huntsman of Hawke's Bay, for quite a while, and then after a couple of years I'd left high school and then thought I'll go to teachers college. Murray said go and work for Mark Olligan, and that was my first introduction into racing. And I met Paul and Carol at Mark Olligan's. Decided I didn't want to be a teacher and came back and worked for Paul and Carol Nelson, and that's sort of where it started. Like, I think I was 21, I'm sort of 44 now, so kept coming back and working on and off. 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I came here a bit more permanent, and then Paul said, oh, would you like to come into partnership? And it was a pretty good opportunity. Couldn't pass that one up. The
property's part of 1,500 acres that my father got when he came back from the war. It was split between a brother and myself. We farmed just on 700 acres here. I generally feed up between 6 and past, and we don't start work until 8 o'clock to work in with the staff that come in. Some of them are here all day. Corrina's here all day.
I live in closer to town, so I sort of leave home at 7:30, which is pretty cruisy. Get the horses in and we go and work them on the track around the farm. Gallop morning, they go up the gallop. Mostly we're done by lunchtime, have a bit of lunch, and then the afternoon is tidying up and all that sort of thing.
Probably get to 30 odd horses. We've bred a few, but I find that it's probably easier for us to go and buy or acquire an older horse that's done a few miles and might want a change of environment, and the farm life seems to change their attitude. A horse that's cheap and bred to stay and has had a bit of flat form before we do something with him. If we can find one of those, then we'll see what we can do with them. Farm that we've got and the environment, we can probably do them easier than a person training on the track. We used to go to the track a lot before we were well set up here, and we'd go in and we had 2 horses and we'd gallop Storm and we'd jump Chibuku. There were lots of questions asked about our ability to train, but Storm went on and won the Ridderford and the Wellington, and he was placed in the National, and he was placed in the Wellington again, I think. So he was really the blame of us getting into racehorses, because we really had the bug after that. And Chibuku ended up winning 20 races, so we didn't do too badly with them.
They've all got a special part in your heart, really. Most people know that No Tip, Nigel's my favourite. For a while he was quite a creepy little critter, and to be honest I'd be driving to it going, oh, I've got to ride Nigel. I was pretty worried about him, and that's probably part of the thrill of it too, is getting something like that you work through. And he won the second flat race, so there was a bit of a buzz, and then he always jumped nice, and just seeing them progress to being an older horse where now he's cool to ride, pretty quiet, and yeah, seeing them go on and become a real horse as such. Over the years we've had one called Perry Mason, and he won 2 steeplechases, and the second one was pretty special. It took a bit to get him there, and that was a thrill. And he's got a big syndicate behind him, and seeing all those people happy, and that's a big part of your racing too.
Storm would have to be, he was the first and he got us going, and we had a great association with Sue Thompson. She rode him all in the latter part of his jumping career, and she was on him when he won the Wellington Chase and the Ridderford. No Hero was the next one that did a great job for us. He won eight steeplechases in a row. He was a very special horse. Now I think that the Cossack's given us probably a new high and his record probably says that he could be the best. He's a very, very good winded horse, and he probably doesn't take as much work as some of them. He's a bit lighter framed. He seems to want to give everything, and he's got an amazing staying ability, I think.
Just you spend so much time with them, and then when you get them as like a greener horse or a young one, preparing them all the way through, seeing them grow up, and it's such a thrill seeing them jump. And when there's a big group of them, it's just quite neat. It's quite hard to explain, but it's a thrill of them. And when they finish, and especially if they won, it's just the biggest buzz you could ever get. And you feel so proud, like all that work you've done, and hills and miles that you put into them, and you get to know them really quite on a personal level. Yeah, it's just something you can't really describe.
Jonathan Riddell was the first one that really made a name for himself, doing a major part of our riding, and I mean his record is second to none really. Just done a marvellous job to get back and ride on the flat and win as many races as he has. We had quite an association with Richard Kelly. He won quite a few races for us. And then of course Aaron, he rode for us. We were sad to see him go, but fortunately Sean stepped in. I can't say enough about that association. Richard Bandy was one of the first overseas ones that came and stayed here, and he was with us for 3 months. We've picked him up through advertising or by word of mouth, and he's been a big help to us because he found us Alan Nicholas, and then Charlie Casey had quite a bit to do with him to come and start working as he is now. If jumps racing is to survive, we've got to bring overseas riders in.
And you see a lot of the jumps jockeys there. Behind the scenes, they're pre-training the horses, breaking the horses in. Quite important to those young horses, getting them going. And I think the jumping is a hard-working crew that really is quite passionate about racing in general.
The jumps racing is important because the lifeblood of a lot of the industry working in stables. The record of jumps riders going on and becoming very good trainers in New Zealand is huge. They're the real soul of the working force in New Zealand.